Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
What's poppin', Fantasy Champs?
What's up, what's up, what's up?
My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me as always. I have this wicked hard chair I'm sitting in. It's hurting my back. It's like the oldest man thing I've ever said in my life.
My back.
My back is hurting, my guy. Yeah, I know. But anyway, welcome to Fantasy Football Podcast. Today, we're going to give you, I guess, part 2 of this, our biggest series.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's a series. I don't like calling things series. It sounds super planned out. And, well, this is all planned out. But
I was going to say, you kind of do have show notes and stuff.
I do. That's probably a good idea. Otherwise, we would sit here and talk for 3 hours about Mac Jones and how the Patriots need to throw it more. Can I say, by the way, they were crushing the Jags on Sunday, crushing them. And they didn't keep handing it off. They were like, you know what, Mac? You're just going to throw it 2 straight drives in the second half. They were like, this is what we want to do with Mac Jones, NFL. But you're going to have to wait till next year.
I know, right? We're going to do exactly what you just said we shouldn't do. Because I wanted to tell you that you were 100% right. Because I was watching a Patriots post game last night really quickly.
Yeah.
And after they beat the Jaguars by like 40 points, they're like, this Patriots team is better than any team in the league except maybe the Chiefs. And the same guy the week before when they lost to the Bills were like, I think they're losing in the first round. This team just doesn't have it. It's like, so them beating the Jaguars
is enough for them.
Change your mind. Okay.
It is interesting, though, because they can blow out these really bad teams, like with the exception of the Houston.
Because they're not a bad team.
Because they're not a bad team.
And they're super well coached.
But there are teams in the like the Bills are a really good football team, but they lost to Houston.
Who has a better? Because I feel like that's coaching. Like if you lose to a bad team, it's like your team just wasn't prepared. Bill treats every game like it's,
Well, sometimes he goes into.
Like he's like, we're not losing. He goes, we're not losing to the Jaguars. We're gonna kill them.
He just says it. Yeah. Anyway, Mac did look pretty excited though. He was celebrating some weird stuff.
Didn't want to lose 3 in a row.
He's an awkward guy. Like everyone respects him, and they look at him and they're like, this guy is legit. Oh, we have breaking news here.
Uh-oh.
It's not anything legitimate for the breaking news sound effect, but AB posted on Instagram. Antonio Brown.
Oh, he. I think that was yesterday.
Was it yesterday? Because he said,
I think it was. Yeah.
Big mad.
Yeah, this was. I saw this yesterday.
The opportunity, bro. What? You literally ripped your uniform up and stormed off the field. Jeez, I kind of want him just to watch him collapse.
AB is such a
interesting guy.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
Anyway, so I don't know what we were talking about. Oh, Mac Jones.
Yeah.
He's an awkward guy because everyone he plays with is like, oh my gosh, I respect this guy so much. He's a great leader and he's fun to be around and all this crap, right? And I just see him on the field and I'm like, this guy's a giant goofball.
Yeah. I think it was the touchdown, one of the touchdowns he threw.
Was it to Myers?
He was like, I don't know which one, but he was like getting pumped and like celebrating, and he looked so awkward, like moving around, like just doing anything.
Hey, do you know the most amount of rushing yards that Tom Brady's ever had in his career?
What is it?
104. You know the most amount of rushing yards that Mac Jones has ever had in his career?
What is it?
145.
I just looked it up. It's 125.
Oh, sorry, I added 20 yards. 125.
But okay.
Outrushing Brady.
Honestly, 100 yards is actually
that's pretty
better
good
than I thought he would have.
I looked at that the other day and I was like, what the frick? Anyway, so that was our Mac Jones segment for the show. let's jump into our biggest hits and get those done relatively quickly so you guys can be on your way for the weekend. For the last week of the regular season, this is week 18, I should say. First time in NFL history there's been that many weeks. So it should be interesting to see how this week kind of plays out. How many playoff spots
kind
are
of a weird week.
Excuse me.
I think the last spot in the AFC and the last spot in the NFC are available. So it's only one of each.
Okay, cool.
But they flex the games to get people interested in them. Like they didn't set the time for the games this week until this week.
Oh, okay, got you.
So the Raiders Chargers is prime time because that's pretty much a playoff game. Because it's winner gets in, and then in the NFC, I think the 49ers game is prime time because they're playing the Rams and they have to win to get in. But if they lose, they could still make the playoffs, but they would just need other teams to lose as well.
Hey, by the way, I don't know whom. The Rams were playing this week, but did they win?
The Rams did win.
Okay,
yeah, they won.
So who's still? Dolphins are in it, right? Still no.
No, Dolphins are done.
Good.
I think.
See you later. Bye. Anyway. Well, let's get into the intro stuff. Check out our website, fantasyjimmies.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any other podcast platforms, please leave a review and share this podcast with your friends. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, like, and then comment down below your biggest predictions that you hit on this year.
Yeah.
Anyway,
maybe you had some.
I feel like I interrupted you, but I wanted to get that out of the way before I.
No, I was just reading something. So I think the Colts could miss the playoffs if they. So the Raiders Chargers game is winning, you're in, but if the Raiders lose because they beat the Colts last week and the Colts also lose, and the Raiders could be in, but the Colts are playing the Jaguars.
So wait a minute. So if the Colts lose, are they out?
No. If the Colts lose, actually, yeah, they would be out, I guess. Because the Chargers have the tiebreaker. Or do the Chargers not? No, you know what? The Chargers don't have the tiebreaker on it. So if the Colts lose and the Chargers lose, the Chargers are out.
But if the Colts lose and the Raiders lose, then the Chargers are in, and the Raiders are in?
Yes.
That makes zero
sense. Because the Chargers would win. Yeah. Yep. It's weird. So those three teams are fighting for two spots.
If I know what the score is, I just throw the game.
I feel like it's very obvious that one of these teams should not be like the other or with the others. I feel like the Raiders are like a step below the Chargers and Colts, but somehow got here.
Seriously.
But whatever.
Anyway. Yeah. All right. Let's get into our biggest hits. You came here, you probably listened to us for a good 10 minutes before getting into this. And so hopefully for the next 20 minutes, we can give you some valuable, our biggest hits content. This maybe sounds like
some leads.
If you turn on your local TV station and you're watching the news on a Saturday morning, and then you watch a little bit too long and it gets to noontime, those local stations start putting on these infomercials. Remember those from back in the day? They still exist. If you have network television, which I do, does that make me an old man?
A little bit.
Network television.
I mean, I do, but it's streaming, so I don't know if that counts.
I guess. But anyway, if you wait too long on those local networks, you'll get these infomercials, and it'll be like for 70-year-old men and women who are trying to relive their past, and it's like soundtracks, the biggest hits from the 50s, and that's kind of what it sounds like when I say our biggest hits.
Yeah, it does.
But anyway, this is not our biggest hits from the 50s. This is our biggest hits of the fantasy football season, the predictions that we nailed in the 2021 season that helped you win. So we'll go through 5 guys that we got right and change the pace from our last show where we got everything wrong. So this will make you feel better about listening to us because we actually got a lot right this year.
Did.
Honorable mention, Travis Kelce was not a part of your winning strategy if you drafted him in the first
round. I will say I won a championship with Travis Kelce.
That's fair, but was that in a dynasty league?
It was in a dynasty league.
Yeah, so let's see. Redraft. That's what I'm talking about.
What about, for me personally, I took Justin Jefferson in like every single league I did. that he was available in. I took him in our home league in the 3rd round, and he was the wide receiver 3 on the season.
That was a good pick. Good pick. Was that wide receiver 5 or 6 in the draft?
I think he was a little. I want to say it was like wide receiver 7. I think actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so it's not crazy value, but not bad.
I was looking back at stuff though, and I was like, wow, we did hit on a lot of stuff because I took out the stuff that we missed on that was based on injury, like Cam Akers being a top 5 running back. Obviously, that goes null and void when he.
I think it would have happened though.
I
believe that would have happened.
He's better than Darrell Henderson. Henderson had a good season.
Exactly.
So. Anyway, let's talk about our biggest hits in 2021. Starting off with Naji Harris. We said that he was going to break out. I'm going to look this up right now because I don't know. I physically do not know if it actually happened. But I said on a bold prediction show that Naja Harris was going to get 300 touches on the year.
I do remember that. And he did.
And so based on the numbers that I have in front of me, he has 286 rush attempts and 71 catches.
What are the numbers you look at? Or do we have different? Because on Sleeper, it says 268 carries, 67 receptions, which is still over 300, but still.
Whoa. Hold on a second. I'm looking at. Oh, they haven't played yet, too. That's even more.
Yeah.
Yes. So
maybe that's projected after. I mean, we.
I don't know. This, so. I don't know. I'm looking on Pro Football Reference.
Okay. Because
I can go on
before
ESPN.
The Browns
that
game
seems more legitimate.
I just use Sleeper and I just go to the player and then scroll down to what their stats
So
were.
he had regular season so far this year 268 rush attempts.
Yes,
you're right on that, and then 67 catches.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is still over 300. So I guess my prediction was right on that.
You nailed everything we said about Harris, especially you.
The big part about Naji, and I like his talent and I like his ability. Obviously, there are some people behind offensive, like if your offensive line is bad, look at Saquon Barkley this year when he was healthy. That's a great example of a very talented,
and he's at the point of his career, though, where I think I agree with you what you're about to say, but it's a little different with Saquon because I don't think he's the same player.
Yeah, he's probably not the same player anymore with the injuries. But
yeah,
with that being said, Saquon's an extremely talented running back, and they just have a really bad offensive line, a really bad offense. Naji was dropped in the same predicament, and a lot of people didn't think Naja Harris was going to have a good year based on the circumstances that the offense really isn't that great. So offensive line was ranked bottom 10 in the league. Like, it wasn't a good team. And so a lot of people were like, don't draft Naji, he's going to bust. But the big thing about running backs in the NFL right now is that if you have a running back that gets over 300 touches, it's like stealing candy from a baby. It's like that player, no matter what happens, is going to end up being a very, very, very highly, very high finishing, I should say, running back at the end of the day. And so you just got to look for the opportunity. Naji Harris in half PPR was the RB4 on the season in 15 games, averaging 15.2 points per game. So he was top 5. Had a really good season. It was a great pick if you got him at the end of the end of the first round, early second. And
he was really second round. He went first in our draft, but if you remember, he was
middle second.
It was like way off the board. Yeah, he was like a middle second round.
Oh, okay. But either way, Naji broke out, had a really good season, and I think that is all attributed to the 370 whatever, 350 whatever. Well, see, now it's probably like 310 or 320, but it's probably going to end at 350, 360 touches that he had. So I think when you're looking at the running back position, if you know a guy's going to get opportunity, it's not that hard. Like, don't overcomplicate it. Just get that guy on your team, because if you have a running back that's going to get 300 touches, you won't be sitting there yelling at the TV when Dan Campbell gives Jamal Williams 60% of the snaps.
Right. All year. Which that's probably a good transition to the next guy.
Yeah, go ahead.
And that's Deandre Swift. We projected that Deandre Swift would break out, and a lot of people were very against Swift. He was a very like push and pull crowd. Some people either really liked him or really did not like him. We were in the crowd that really did like him. And we were right, I think, for the most part. Before he got hurt, he was having a fantastic season. I think he was a top 10 running back.
Top 5.
He might have even been high. Yeah. In PPR, right?
Yeah.
Or is that half PPR too?
Half PPR and PPR, he was top 5 before he got shelled. Well, I'll look up the numbers right in front of me as I have them.
Yeah. So either way, he was at least in the conversation through those first 10 weeks, and he was just fantastic. I mean, it was the talent over situation because he was not getting a ton of touches. And then one game he finally did, but it was against the Steelers. He still had 15 fantasy points in that game with 33 carries. But if you took Swift in like the third round, it was before he got hurt, he was maybe one of the steals of the draft, especially at the running back position. Right. Because you really took a mid to low end RB1 in the third round, which is very, very difficult to do. And especially in PPR leagues, because the dude is a reception machine. In just 12 games this year, 73 targets, 58 catches. Yeah. And it could only, I think it's going to go up with him. There were times where they were conservative with him this year. Obviously he had injuries like this past week against Seattle. He only had a couple touches. He got hurt in the first quarter against the Bears in week 12. That was the Thanksgiving game where he hurt his shoulder. So he still has potential to be even better. And, glad I got him on some dynasty leagues. I hope you took him in some of your leagues as well. Yeah.
I took him in the home league, so that's good. And then I traded him for Nick Chubb.
It was a perfect timing when you traded him because it was right before he got hurt.
Oh my God, yeah. I had a couple of trades like that because I traded Jerry Jeudy for Chase Edmonds and early in the season, and before Chase Edmonds got hurt, right before Jerry Jeudy got hurt, and then Jerry Jeudy got hurt following week.
Yeah. That's crazy. But yeah, in PPR, first 10 weeks, he was RB5.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. In half PPR, he's RB7. And I think he was good enough in that stretch of games, obviously, to be a top 5-6 running back. And so, like when I look at Deandre Swift, I mean, to me, I think both of us had the same thought process when we said, Swift was going to be this guy. I was a little bit more hesitant, I remember, on Swift than Rick was. Rick was more gung-ho on him. And I was only a little bit more scared of him just because I thought the Lions offense was not going to be.
It's a valid reason to be scared because it kind of played out a little bit like that.
Yeah. But I was okay with the pass catching upside because, you look at Jared Goff, you're in a bad offense. There's not a lot of passing weapons. Your two biggest targets are going to be DeAndre Swift, who's your pass catching running back, and TJ Hawkinson. So I like the fact that Swift was going to get all of this extra work. And that's why I was okay with drafting him in a couple of the leagues that I had him in. I even traded for him in a league. So it's funny because Rick was the homer for Swift, and I was a little bit more hesitant. But I traded for him in a league, and then I drafted him in the home league. And that's what ended up being
the pick above me. My plan was. I mean, I had a flexible plan, so I didn't run. That's why I wasn't upset.
It was so funny.
That's why we were both flexible. Because
take AJ Brown. I'm like, I'm gonna be left with no running backs.
Yeah, and I had the bright idea to be left with no running backs, but have Justin Jefferson and AJ Brown as my receivers, thinking I would be stacked, and it didn't work out that way because Anyway, McCaffrey got hurt. But either way, I love Swift.
With both of these guys, though, what are your thoughts with Naji and Swift in a not long term sense, but in a like next season draft sense?
I think Swift. I definitely will be trying to draft him again. I think the offense will only improve. Hopefully, if they do the right things this offseason, they have 2 first-round picks, some cap space. I don't know if Jared Goff is going to continue to be the quarterback. If he is, I think that's a good thing for Swift. He dumps it off a lot to the running backs, right? Takes his checkdowns and everything. So that's only good things for Swift. I hope they use him a little bit more. So I'm pretty confident with Swift. I like his upside. Could be a late first round, early second round pick. Yeah. Naji Harris, it's similar. I'm a little bit more scared with him because it depends what they do in the offseason. Because if they draft a rookie quarterback to replace Roethlisberger, How good is that offense going to truly
have a year of concern? But there's a lot of moving pieces.
There's a lot of moving pieces.
Quarterback this offseason. So
yep. But as of today, I still like Harris. Again, probably going to be a top 5 pick. Are you okay with taking him in the top 5?
It really depends on because I think these guys like Swift and Harris. Now Swift is, like you said, probably going to end up late first, early second, but Harris, on the other hand, is a top 5 running back, and I think a majority of people are going to look at him as such, especially when you see Kamara and Zeke starting to fade back a little bit in their production, just because of where the situation is going. And I think you could see Naji end up getting drafted, because I think McCaffrey's still a lock to be a top 3 pick. Henry's probably going to be a lock to be a top 3 pick. You're definitely going to see Cook up there. And then you're 100% probably the 101 is going to be JT, Jonathan Taylor. So I could see Naji entering into that second, third tier at 6, 7, or 8. That would make sense to me.
Okay.
But yeah, and then as far as Swift, like I said, back in the first round. I don't know if you disagree with the Naji Harris thing.
No, I pretty much agree with that.
Okay. Let's talk about the next hit that we had. Kyle Pitts, who had one of the best rookie seasons, if not the best rookie season of all time at the tight end position.
Oh, can we? Well, I guess after the show, I'll bring it up.
Is it a bad thing or
we had a bet
because you won?
No, we had a bet. Yes,
you won the bet. We can do that live on air. 8 points. Well, we got one more week. Let's see if he drops down to 5 points.
He won't.
Unless he doesn't score a point. No. What did he end up with? 8.9 fantasy points per game, something like that.
I can look it up. Was it half PPR? I think the bet was half PPR.
Yeah, I think that was half. But Kyle Pitts isn't worth a top 4 round pick. And we told you many times that even if Kyle Pitts has the best rookie season of all time, which he did, he still wouldn't be worth that top 4 or 5 round value. And what you saw from Kyle Pitts is, even though he finished top 5 on the season so far.
Yep.
There's still week 18. So
although Dawson Knox and Goddard and Robert Gronkowski and TJ Hawkinson and Darren Waller all had more points per game than Kyle Pitts.
Right.
But because all those guys got injured and Pitts did not, he finished.
So with Kyle Pitts, he was more like, if you go on Fantasy Pros like rest of season rankings right now as you're listening to the show, you're going to see Pitts as like tight end 9. And I think that's probably a more effective spot to place him, where a lot of people are going to use his top 5 finish as a justification for drafting him.
Yes.
But a lot of people drafted him. I know in every redraft league I had, the team that drafted Kyle Pitts that high did not make the playoffs. And I don't know if that's a trend, but I would suggest that because of the fact that you drafted Kyle Pitts so high and you didn't get the production that you wanted, that ended up being putting you in a place where you were in a bad spot. Taking a rookie tight end in the top 4 rounds of a draft is not a good idea. I don't care if this player is the best player ever.
The easiest one. Yep.
It's literally the easiest one. And Rick liked Kyle Pitts, but it got out of hand.
I still like Kyle Pitts, yep.
People got excited. And
I remember we had a debate in the beginning of the year about should we take him in like the 7th round? And I was like, I would consider it there. You were still saying no. And I think looking back on it, it still would have been early just because if you compare 7th round production from other players, but it's more justifiable. Once he got up to like the 5th and 4th round, we were both like, this is insane. This is absolutely insane.
It's absurd.
Just crazy stuff.
People I think part of the problem was that people got a little bit, I don't think normal people really knew about Kyle Pitts, but there was so much hype in the fantasy community about Kyle Pitts that it ended up being like just an enamorization of a player that hadn't even played an NFL game yet. And it's like, I love Naja Harris. Was I taking Naja Harris top 5? No. And that would be outshooting Naja Harris's value at the time of what you were taking. Like
that exactly.
And so for Kyle Pitts, it was just like, Like I told Rick, if he was like a 9th, 10th round pick, I would have said, sure, I'll give it a shot. Like, what have I got to lose? Like, I'm going to draft another tight end, and I have a better shot of this one working out than the other one. So
sure,
I'll take a shot on Kyle Pitts. But when it started getting up into that conversation of the 4th and 5th round, it was just like, you guys are drafting him as a top 3 tight end when he's probably going to finish as a tight end 9. And when you look at the points per game, like Rick just said, he's right around 7, 8, and 9, which is basically just equivalent to everyone else at the tight end position outside of the top 5.
I can tell you where he finished in points per game.
Go ahead.
In half PPR, he was tight end 11.
Yeah, see, that's disgusting. And how
I
many
think in
tight ends?
PPR, though, he was a little higher, I want to say. Let me see. Yeah, he was a little higher. He was tight end 9, I think.
Okay, so I'll go off that and look up the numbers and just give you some wide receivers. Give you some tight ends that were in that same vicinity.
Okay. Who were not drafted in the 4th round.
Who were not drafted in
To
the
be
4th
fair to
round.
Pitts, like I still think, and I think you would agree with this, like he's insane talent.
Yes, yes. This year I'm all in. Like I'm all in.
Right.
He has a year under his belt.
He's
I don't know.
like Jamar Chase in the sense of.
Here's the problem though. What do you do with this? Like
the Falcons.
Yeah, what do you do with the Falcons?
Yeah.
Like that's a problem.
It is.
But
it's absolutely a problem.
Either way, in half PPR though, where you said Kyle Pitts is 11, he was averaging 8.8 points per game in half PPR. Hunter Henry averaged 8.6. Zach Ertz averaged 8.2. Noah Fant averaged 8.2 as well. Mike Gesicki, Pat Freiermuth, the other rookie, 7.8, 7.8.
Not far behind.
And it's just, and then some guys ahead of him. Logan Thomas only played 5 games, so that doesn't count. But you had Dallas Goedert,
Right.
9.1, Dawson Knox 9.5, Hawkinson 9.6, Dalton Schultz 9.6. He was, unless you had Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, George Kittle, or Gronk, which is surprising.
That one came out of nowhere.
Darren Waller missed time as well. Unless you had those guys and they were playing in your lineup, like, you really got the same production. Like Kyle Pitts gave you the same crap that everyone else did
this year that you should have drafted early. That I don't think we saw coming in. A lot of people did not. Was Mark Andrews? He had a career year, and if you took him in like the 4th,
tight end 1.
Yeah, if you took him in like the 4th or 5th round, that was actually a good pick.
That was a great pick.
That was a great pick.
But I believe Pitts went off the board in our home league as a 2nd tight end, maybe the 3rd.
Yes, he did. It was I'm pretty sure he was the 2nd tight end after Kelce.
But that is just dumb. That's dumb fantasy football.
Costed him almost costed him his league.
Yeah. So Kyle Pitts, not worth a top 5 pick. Maybe you should
absolutely not.
Maybe you should just
now for 2022. Do you think he's not? I don't think he's going to go in as high as he did. If he does, like let's say he's a 5th round pick, you want to take him there because I don't. And it's not him. It's just like he had 1 touchdown this year.
I don't know what I want to do with Kyle Pitts. I really hope that he disappointed so many people that
I do too. I think that actually might happen in the draft. We might be able to get him this year in like the 7th round.
Yeah, 6th, 7th.
And if that
round.
happens,
I was going to say he's not going any lower than that though.
No. But if you can get him in the 6th, 7th round, I think I would consider it.
But like when you just look at like his like straight numbers on the year, the sheer target share is enough to be like, okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, we need, this guy.
1,000 yards receiving too for a rookie tight end is ridiculous.
If he caught the touchdowns, this would have been a smash pick.
Oh yeah, right.
But you drafted a tight end on the Atlanta Falcons, so
right.
Good luck with that. Austin Hooper finished higher.
That's disgusting.
But anyway, let's move on to the next guy, the Jalen Hurts breakout. Now, unfortunately for a majority of people who are in the championship with Jalen Hurts at quarterback, you were burned this week and you probably lost. But Hurts broke out and he had a really good season. He ended up being at the QB position a top 10, obviously. And
he was QB 8.
He was number 8, yeah. And in points per game, he was better than Joe Burrow. He was actually, before Burrow freaking just lost his mind the last 2 weeks.
I know.
He was like quarterback 6
Yeah, he was. He was like the QB6.
So Hurts was good. There was inconsistent moments on the year. I hated watching the Philadelphia Eagles because it was just pain. It was sheer pain for most of the game. It was like the year Dak was like QB 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And you had to watch him, and majority of the game he had like 2 fantasy points, and then he'd get to the end of the game and score 4 touchdowns in 5 minutes. And
I'm so glad that I had like no Eagles players this year. Like that Goddard.
So gross to watch. I'm not gonna lie. But Jalen Hurts did have a really good season. Now, and I think he, like, where he was drafted, which was like, I think 9th, 10th round, you got back, like, because at that point you're talking about the 10th, 11th, 12th quarterback off the board.
Sure.
And so you got back your value in Jalen Hurts, and he's a good rushing quarterback. And, points per game basis, he was probably like top 6. The problem with Jalen Hurts is twofold. It's it's weird how the Eagles kind of run their offensive attack. They like to run the ball, but they don't really rush all that much using RPOs and quarterback design runs with Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts usually just runs himself because there's nothing open, because their receiving core is not that good outside of Smith. But there's just some limitations to Jalen Hurts, and long term, like if you're in a keeper league and you're like, okay, Jalen Hurts had a really good year, should I keep him?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
But what if he's not? Do you think he's going to be a starting quarterback for the Eagles next year?
So the reason I say yes, because they made the playoffs.
Okay.
If they did not make the playoffs, I think
it's. I mean, the Eagles are buying.
I mean, I think they have to. Jalen Hurts got them to the playoffs. That team is not a playoff team. They're okay. They're like kind of like in the to compare it to AFC teams, but like they're like the Dolphins. They should be like the Dolphins, or like a team that like just misses the playoffs by like a game or two. But they were a playoff team.
If we're gonna really,
I know. But for fantasy, Hurts runs it, so it makes it
a little
much better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not 100% confident in it, but I'm definitely more confident in.
I feel like
in it than I am.
So there's 2 problems here. A, you made the playoffs with Jalen Hurts.
Yes.
So that rules out any chance that you have at a top 15 draft selection.
They have.
Do they have?
I want to say they have the Bears' first round pick.
Oh, and the Bears suck.
Yeah.
Okay, so they might even just have it doesn't even matter. So the chances of them drafting a quarterback are obviously there. Because Jalen Hurts was a second-round pick, so if they really wanted to go at it, they could go top 10 at quarterback. It's not really the year to do it, and they have other needs. Like, they can run with Jalen Hurts at least for a couple years until they need to figure out the quarterback position. But you also have the other situation that if a quarterback like Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Jimmy G, very wide open market right now. If a quarterback becomes available to them that they would take, like a Russell Wilson, I would 100% do it if I was them, obviously.
They could, because they actually have 3 first-round picks.
They have 3 first-round picks. They have Jalen Hurts. So if the Eagles walked up to the freaking Seattle Seahawks and said, we'll give you Jalen Hurts and 2 first-round picks or 3 first-round picks for Russ, you think they would do it?
That's a good deal.
It's a good deal for. We're making deals over here on the podcast for the Eagles.
Yeah.
But if that's something, it's unlikely to happen, obviously. But if that's something that walked across their desk, and they were like, "Oh, okay, I'll give you 3 first-round picks to get Russell Wilson," I don't know if they would actually do it from their perspective, because it's a lot of players, a lot of players. But if a situation came forward where they were going to get Russ, then that would be Jalen Hurts' downfall. But if Jalen Hurts was to go to Seattle, it wouldn't be any much different of a situation than it is in Philly. Offense that likes to run the ball a lot.
True.
So, I mean, it could
Has
be
some
the same
decent
thing.
weapons.
I don't know. The values might be there, but yeah, either way, Jalen Hurts is a breakout this year. So
yeah, there's a lot of people again not willing to draft him, and I understood the concerns, like, because at the time it was like he could get benched, and I had said that multiple times. Like, I was scared that he could get benched at some point, but he played well enough all year where he was just over that. There was one game, I think it was against the Giants, where he threw 3 picks, and I was like, oh. And then Minshew had a good game, but he had played well enough before that point to still continue the starting job. And it was a good pick if you took Hurts.
All right, quickly, last guy, Damian Harris, top 20 running back. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Before the show, I played you a clip of me saying that my bold prediction, I had Damian Harris as a top 20 running back, and he finished as the RB like 15 or something like that, in half PPR. And look, my argument for it was that he was gonna get the carries. I said I don't see a world where he doesn't get 200 carries. He's only at like 191 right now, but if he plays the last game of the season, he's gonna get 200 carries. He's very efficient with those carries, and he's going to be in a better offense. And that's exactly what happened. I didn't think he'd get 14 touchdowns, though. That's even more than I thought, which is why I think he finished even higher. Because when I said top 20, I was thinking like 18, 19, not 13. But that was the few extra touchdowns there. But I did think he would get he could get 9 or 10 touchdowns. I think that's what I said on the show, on the bold prediction show. The only thing that concerned me was his receiving, and that obviously came into fruition. He didn't do much in the receiving game, but he was he wasn't like a true workhorse because Stevenson gets involved. They use Brandon Bolden on third down, but they are a run heavy team, and he's the guy that gets the most work. It's kind of in a way similar to when the Ravens had Mark Ingram and I want to say, was it Dobbins and Gus Edwards? And they had like 3 running backs that they were using. And in the first half of the season, the first 12 weeks of the year, even though they used all 3 running backs, Mark Ingram was still like a top 15 running back because he was getting used the most in a run heavy offense. Yeah. And that's kind of what it was with the Patriots. Harris gets used the most in a run heavy offense.
And if there's one thing Mac Jones knows how to do at quarterback, it's to get you moving down the field in between the 20s. As soon as they get in the 20, just run it, bulldoze it with Damian Harris, and that's exactly what happened. Yeah,
he was the goal line back as well, which is interesting because that was another thing people thought they would use Stevenson
was going to be the guy.
Yeah, but they still let Harris. I mean, Ramondre is still pretty good, and I think quickly because we're running out of time. But do you like Harris next year?
Okay, so I have a couple of thoughts on Harris. I said this to some friends on Sunday that Harris, I think, is going to get traded.
Okay.
I think he's going to get traded. I think the Patriots want to roll with Ramondre. They'll probably draft another back. 4th, 5th.
They love drafting running backs.
Because they like drafting running backs. Bolden showed some promise this year. Not necessarily that I want Bolden as a Patriots fan, but I think that they will probably keep Brandon Bolden. They'll keep Ramondre Stevenson. And then they'll draft a guy and bring some guys in free agency. I don't know if I like this strategy, but I think they're going to end up dealing Harris because I think Ramondre, no offense to Damian Harris, but I think Ramondre Stevenson's the better running back.
I agree with you on that.
So I think that's what they're going to end up doing, or they could just do what Baltimore did and just go with the tandem running backs and keep running it out there. But I do think that that's probably the only offensive weapon they have to try to make a deal if they were going to try to maneuver that way.
I would definitely be okay with that. My only thing that I would say against that is they're very lovey-dovey about Damian Harris, where he was redshirted. They eased him into it, and then he's earned his role as the starter.
Yeah.
And he says all the right things. He's a leader in the locker room. Like
friends with Mac Jones.
You know what I mean? Friends with Mac Jones. Like it's a lot of negative things. But I mean, looking at it just from a normal perspective, or like a GM's perspective, I think it would be actually a pretty good trade to trade Harris on the surface, especially if you can get something good for him.
Yeah, but in a class where there's not a whole ton of, I got to do more research, so I don't want to get attacked on the internet. Yeah. But in a class that doesn't look too heavy in terms of offensive weapons and the running backs, I think for Damian Harris, like if you were to deal him to a team like not that you would want to trade him to Miami, but a team that needs a running back, like
a team like Miami, not Miami, but
probably not Miami, but a team like Miami where they desperately need a running back. And I think that could happen. But, you never know.
Right. You never know.
Baltimore could come in, swoop in.
So they can have Dobbins and Harris be able to tandem.
Freaking stupid. But
no, the
anyway.
Lions, bro. They need Jamal Williams, Harris, and Swift.
Yeah, they definitely need those two guys. Because the Lions would love that. Oh my God, I would hate that. I'd be like, kill me now.
I know.
But anyway, those are our biggest and best predictions from the 2021 season. We got a lot of content coming in January, so please pay attention. We'll see you next week, guys.
See you.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.